Hello guys, Cristiano here. I am a C programmer, learning all those things that I can. Hit the subscribe button, let a comment, that'll help so much the channel. All my videos will be in a fast mode with explanation. I'll reduce the time to be more precise. And we will face a lot of mistakes and debugs. Everything's calculated, or not. So don't be afraid. The link for all the source codes will be in the description. If you wanna follow, just get your copy. Today we implement the UDP client and the server library. UDP is a protocol you can use in some situations where we don't need to have connections. This makes UDP faster than TCP. UDP is used for games and streaming. In these circumstances where you don't need to worry about losing some packages. First we create the header SAT UDP, side UDP client and SAT UDP server, and they are source files, and the test file just to begin. In the UTCP header we define the callback. It will be called when some event happens. For that we need a none to select between server and client. We define the UDP context with a socket, the type, a host name, a port, a buffer, a size buffer, an invent struct to receive and send, and the data, which is a void pointer to allow the user pass his context to the callbacks. We use the context to create the args. We just remove the socket and we change the host name to a pointer. To handle this context, we need some functions. Here we have some: the init, the open, the run, the send, the receive, and the close. Let's start with a UDP server. In its header, we define a server open and a server run. In server source file, we add some headers that allow us to work using sockets. It's a bunch of includes, by the way. Well, to test the server necessary args, we create a server is argvalid function to check these necessary arguments. We create another server configure, the server set socket, the server set reuse address, and the server set bind. We copy all of them and paste in the end of file. The server is argvalid. We check the buffer size, and the port. Those are the necessary args needed to server works. Here in the server configure, you call all these functions in sequence, one after another. The first is set the socket. After we set the reuse address, and finally try to bind the server using the port. In the server socket, we try to create a UDP socket. In the set reuse address, we use the socket created previously to configure as reuse address. In the server set bind, we create a struct. We set the family, the address, and the port. The port must be converted using agtones function, so we try to bind using that struct. In the server open, we do verify the args first. When it's all good, we start to copy the data to the UDP context. And then we call the configure. In the server run, we create some variables. If the socket is valid, we try to receive any message. This version blocks the server on reception. After the reception, we set the last buffer position as 0. We check if the user has implemented his receive callback function. If yes, we pass the buffer and the data to the user function. After the user functions returns, we do verify if the send was implemented as well. So we pass the buffer to the user send callback to implement his send message. We check if the size is not greater than the buffer size, then we send the user message. After this cycle, we clean the server buffer. Now the client. In its header, we implement the client open. In the source file, you bring the function and paste. We include a couple includes to work with sockets, the same as we did in the server. To implement the client, we need two functions, client set socket and the client get IP by host name. We can copy and paste after open. In the client set socket, we try to get a socket to use in our client. In the client get IP by host name, we try to get the IP from the host name. Now the open. Here we just need to check if the host name and the args are good to go. We copy the args data to the context. We try to resolve the host name. If it is IP address, no problem. If it's a host name, no problem, since the host name was defined somewhere. And we try to set the socket. Back to the SAT UDP, we paste the functions, and we do include all the headers to work with the socket, and the client and the server. In each function, just the basic as always, just to clear the context. To select the client or server, we create an interface to get the proper implementation accordingly with a selected type. Now we need a function to select the type open and the type open error. In the type open, we start with a type error open. We add the type to the context. Now we check if it's a server. If it is, we change the interface to server open, or if it is a client, we change the interface to client open. We return the call open. In the error, we just set the error. In UDP open, we call the UDP type open. In the run, we check if it is a server type. The server is only one allowed to call run, and we put the run inside in the while true. In the send, we create the struct address, and we fill that struct with the fields already stored in the context to send the message. We compare the size informed with a size sent to set the status. In the receive, we create a struct address, its size as well. We verify the data, the size, and the buffer size. We clear the buffer and try to receive a message. We set the last message position to 0. In the close, we just close the socket and we clear after. In the test, we created two threads, the server and the client. In the main function, we declared the both threads. We create each thread using their respective data. We fix the buffer size in the 1024 bytes. In the client thread, we declare the buffer and the size. Create two messages, one hello world and the other exit message. We declare the client instance. We set the args with the host name as localhost and the port is 1234. We need the instance and open using the args. We send the message. Now we add the UDP in the sat.h. We try to receive a message. We assert the buffer expecting an echo message and we send the exit message and close the client. We assert all the returns. Now implement the onSend and the onReceive events to use in the server. In onReceive event, we just print the message received. In the onSend message, we fill the buffer with a hello world message. Back to the on receive, we verify the message, if it is exit message, and we need to quit the test. In the server thread, we declare the server instance, create a buffer, we set the args to a server type, the port as 1234, we add the buffer and its size, and you add the on send and the on receive event to the context. We need and open the server using the args, we run the server, we add the new files in the build script, create a rule to test UDP. We try to compile when we got an error. I misspelled the function. Let me fix all of them. Compiling, running OK, and running directly. Now we have a UDP functionality in our arsenal. Now we can play around. That's all for now. I appreciate it if you get here. Don't you forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a comment and share. Knowledge is not enough. Waiting for more. Bye. See you soon.